Welcome to our tub. Come on in. It's warm inside, and there's always room for more.
This podcast contains adult material and is intended for mature audiences only. If you're under 18, grab your rubber ducky and find another tub. This one's not for you. Hello and welcome back in the tub for episode 120. I'm Mr. Berg.
And I'm Mrs. Berg.
And this week, well, as we kind of sat down and looked at the interview that we had to bring to you, it was a pretty extended interview.
Yes, it was.
And that being the case, we kind of made the decision, and as I went through and edited, it just, kind of kept all that we discussed. So this is going to be part one of actually a 2-episode interview. Mm-hmm. The performer that we sat and had a conversation with is, as I state, takes me back to the early legal years of partaking in the adult industry, and had reached out to her on her through some social medias and through some of her sites, and she had said, yeah, I'd love to have a conversation and be on the show. And the discussion we had was a little bit of everything. The industry then versus now. Her start and her growth from a performer into owning her own production company, getting out of the industry for over 13 years, and kind of getting back into the OnlyFans world and the cam world.
But she definitely did it all on her own terms.
Exactly. And you'll definitely hear that very strong-willed woman. And again, it was a great conversation that we had. So it kind of cut the suspense. And our guest for the next 2 episodes is AVN and XRCO Hall of Famer Jewel Denial. And I think we're just going to roll right into the episode or the interview.
Into the interview.
And kind of let it play out. So, sorry, we have a little side
little distraction
deal
in the studio today.
Yes.
Well, not so little distraction.
Yes, the puppy decided to join us in the studio, so he is exploring and destroying.
Sampling.
Yeah. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Be sure to find us and follow us on our socials. Berg Couple for Fun on Twitter and Instagram. The Bergs on Facebook and Reddit. InOurTub.com. Email to reach out to us is thebergs@inourtub.com. So, again, enjoy the interview, and we will see you or speak with you next week. So until then, remember to wrap it before you tap it, lick it before you stick it, and until next time,
we'll keep the lights on and the tub warm for you.
All right, welcome back in the tub for this week's episode. As we had said, we have a very special guest with us here on this segment. It is a pleasure and an honor to have her join us in the tub today. Her name and career has spanned decades. She's a multi-nominated and winning performer, holding the 2000 XRCO Best Starlet Award, 2001 AVN Female Performer of the Year, and Best All Girls Scene, just to name a few. She's a 2009 inductee into not only the AVN Hall of Fame, but the XRCO Hall of Fame as well. She's continuing her career as a content creator, sharing her passion and art for the industry with her fans on her own platforms now. Please welcome the beautiful Jewel Denial.
Hello, hello, hello.
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 Good.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and again, as we said before we started recording, it really is a pleasure. We truly appreciate you joining us today to really have some conversations, get to know you. I'll share kind of, as I began my viewing of, adult content and movies back in the day, it was right when you broke into the industry. So it was a name that recognized and resonated with me within the industry.
Right. And the thing is, too, with a lot of us girls back then, we had the name recognition, and it just kept building upon that, which is kind of lost today. A lot of girls are just kind of getting lost in the woodwork. They're not getting branded, and the ones that are branding their names are having to work very, very hard to get to that level and spend a lot of their own money to get there. No stars are being made anymore by companies. They are actually having to buy their own way into stardom, which is absolutely appalling to me.
The industry has drastically changed from then to now, without a doubt.
Yeah, I would never pay for my own fame. It's like, it's crazy to me that the girls have to work so hard just to, make a name for themselves. And there's just really no company backing anymore, so it's out of their own pocket.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about that, because the internet really has, I think, definitely changed that whole dynamic.
Yeah, I was asked to go to a few shows, and I was like, okay, so here's my day rate, and what hotel am I going to be at, and what material do you have for me to sign? And they were like, oh, no, you pay for all that. And I was like, you want me to come to your booth to promote you and pay my own way? Exit stage left, no thank you.
Sure, yeah, and they will in turn take part of whatever you make, I'm sure.
Yeah, at the signings.
At the signings, yes.
For their booth fees. Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. If they're going to be if someone's going to profit from you and your name and you being there, yeah. What? Wait a minute here.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm drawing a crowd to your booth, and it's not all like that, because there's some booths that actually pay the talent and things to be there, but it's very far and few between. The ones I got asked to be at, they were like, oh no, you pay your own. And I was just like, I'm not paying for shit.
Right.
Like, I've already paid my dues in this industry. Like,
yeah.
No. Right. I'm not trying to brand my name. I'm already branded.
Exactly. People know you.
People know who I am. I don't need to try. I can walk into the room and there's going to be 100 cameras around me taking my picture. They're very much aware of who I am. I'm not trying to, rise to stardom. I've already been there, done that. Now I'm just kind of in the background, just looking back and just thinking, wow, it's a shame what the industry has turned to. And it's sad that because the internet took over and anybody and everybody with a camera can just film whatever, and then the standards dropped drastically and no stars are being made anymore. If you're a star, you got lucky. Because I can name a handful on one hand in today's girls that are actually big name stars. And Angela White being one, Riley Reid being one, Kendra Lust being another. You don't have very many now. But you know who does stick around and still have a name? The girls from my era and before.
You're absolutely right. Your name. We actually just came back from Exotica Chicago, and Jenna Jameson was there, and if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much the first time she's been at some type of industry event in a little while. And
probably a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, her and I used to go. We went to the Cannes Film Festival together back in 1999, and I won Starlet of the Year when they were still doing the Cannes Film Festival in France. And then, you know, we were just always at shows together. And we, you know, it was me, Tara Patrick, Janine. You had Gina Fine, Amberlyn, Gingerlyn, Christy. But we all walk in a room. Anna Mall, bless her soul. She was one of my very good friends.
Yeah.
Serenity. We walk in a room, people knew who we were.
Exactly. Sure.
And a lot of these girls, I'm sorry, but you can take all these industry girls, they walk in a room, I have no fucking idea who they are.
And
they're not carrying themselves in a way that it's kind of, to me, scaled the industry back, way back on their presentation. Because
Very
when
fair.
we would go to show, if you look at Jenna, if you look at Tara Patrick, and you look at a lot of the other girls from my area, they're not going in with Band-Aids to a show on their tits and nothing else, you know? There was a type of class that we were trying to bring to the industry to make it elevated and bring it to a whole new level. And then when everything just kind of got swamped, it just became a sideshow. And the glamour is gone, the luster is gone. Now it just looks like, to me, a bunch of garbage pail kids running around in skimpy outfits.
And that's a fair take. When you look back, and again, when I kind of started, you know, exploring the industry from a fan standpoint. So my parents owned a video store in the mid 80s into the mid to late 90s. So that
you knew
was
all of us.
Exactly. And that was, you know, the AVN printed magazine. And that's when, you know, the AVN awards were the red carpet, the
peak.
glamour, the peak.
And I was glad I'm part of that peak, because that was the industry, and that's the only reason I would have ever gotten the industry, is because it had that appeal. And you were doing big movies. Like, I did a movie that was like a $500,000 budget, Dark Angels. You know, you're not going to find those budgets today in a movie. They can't make that money back.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't exist. We actually saw. I saw somewhere. Someone posted a performer now that she went to. I think it was one of the Hustler stores, and she's like, I went into the Hustler store, and there were no DVDs on the shelf. I enjoyed doing that. But that doesn't, you're absolutely right. It doesn't exist. It's all, pay for the $20 a month on Wicked or whatever the sites are, because there are no such thing as hard-cased videos. Yes, I grew up in the age of watching on VHS and Betamax.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I first started the industry, we used beta cameras. I mean, we had the huge cameras. We had the decks, we had the earphones, we had the monitors, you know, everything. And it's just crazy to me. And reason I got out of the industry in 2004 is when the internet started taking over, and I could kind of see the direction it was taking. And the standard had dropped so low that girls were showing up with their pimps. These were not agents.
Yeah.
Okay, they were pimps. And the girls looked like they'd been partying all night. They were dirty. See, I come from an era where you are, you know, dressed to the nines, your hair, your makeup, your nails, your tone up. You come looking groomed. You don't come looking like you've just been tossed around all night and then show up on my set.
Yes.
Looking rough. Like, I had a standard. I'm putting my name on this. And then it was really hard to sift through the garbage of talent that was coming through, to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun anymore. And I feel like a lot of these girls are being what we would call now today trafficked. And that's when I looked at the industry and was like, this is not my industry. That the standards have dropped drastically. And these people claiming to be agents, they're not fucking agents. They're pimps.
Yeah, it's changed to the point, the professionalism
The
has shifted.
professionalism was going down the drain, and I was watching it with my own eyes. I just put down the camera and walked away, and I was like, and I left the industry and didn't come back. I was gone for 13 years. Never paid it no mind. Just was like, it's a sinking ship, and I knew when to call it, and I knew when to leave, because I was like, I'm dumping. What happened was I was dumping all my money into these movies that were slowly just deteriorating in sales. And it wasn't worth paying the talent what they were wanting when the sales started dropping off, when all these streaming services came in. And a lot of your stuff was just getting sold, stolen and streamed on all these sites everywhere. So it was just like, I'm done.
Yeah. There was no return on the investment at all as that internet. Yeah. There was zero control on the internet. There's still it's still tough to control the internet, but in that inception, no, you had, Persian Kitty, and there were so many websites. It was like, oh yeah, everything's free. What?
Yeah. And that's what happened, is everything was becoming free, and I was just like, this is going to be a shit show that's not going to be able to be contained. And I do not want to be on any sets or be affiliated with anything that is showing girls that don't want to be there, that are there for the wrong reasons.
Just a paycheck.
Or just they have a habit that they are.
Very, very fair there, and yeah, we've seen that even today. As you said, conventions. There have been people bad.
Convention. Yeah, there's a lot of conventions too where it's just gone straight promoting their prostitution instead of promoting their brand. They're just there to, prostitute, and it was just kind of like, either do one or the other. But when you start mingling the two, you're going to run into some issues.
It puts a bad light on the industry that already has a stigma.
Everybody thinks you can be bought. You can be bought and you can be sold. And it's like, I don't come from that area. I don't understand that mentality. I considered myself an artist. I considered myself, talent, entertainment. And I had a standard. And my standards were set very high, set the bar very high. If you were performing with me, you knew you had to be on it that day, because I was going to make you rise above your normal performance, because I'm going to put on a hell of a show. And that's what I was doing. And anybody that worked with me will tell you that. Like, it was as much energetic, and I loved every minute of it. And when I started seeing girls that didn't want to be there, and they looked bored, and they just were going through the motions, and they, just wanted to hurry up and get it over with. It's like, that's not who I am. I want performers that are in it to win it, just like...
And extremely fair. And extremely fair. And we've talked to some other performers, just in conversations, in interviews, and you can tell on screen if it's just I'm going through the motion or I'm into this and I want. There is definitely, in watching content and watching videos, you can tell maybe not, they're not totally into this. And
not only into it, some of them look like a deer in headlights, and they don't even look like they're there. When they got that glazed look on their face of just tuning out. And to me, I see that as what was a huge turnoff to me, is this girl's been abused because she's able to shut this down mentally.
Yep.
And I can notice that immediately. That is not a turn on. That is not somebody I want working on my set. This is someone I want to go put in therapy.
Someone you want to help, because
someone that I do not want on my set. Like, they are there for the wrong reasons. When I got into porn, I was like, I'm going to take this motherfucker and own it. I'm going to rise to the occasion. I'm going to make the best of this, because I made that decision at 21 of, if I do this, it's going to have lifelong consequences. Let me outweigh the good and the bad. Do I want to do this? Because there's going to be a stigma attached to me for the rest of my life. There was a lot of thought process that went into this, but I was like, you know what? I don't care. I want to put a positive light, and I'm going to do everything I can to put a positive light on women in the industry, because they shouldn't be looked down upon. when they are creators and performers and artists, and they take the business seriously and they love what they do. And I feel like the industry just got taken back completely when we lost the luster, when we lost the glamour, when we lost our morals. And people are like, oh, how do porn people have morals? We had a lot of morals because we had a lot of standards.
Exactly.
And we took pride in who we were and, in our performances. And we took pride in our fans.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that our fans were everything, because without them, we don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because they're fighting that stigma that you are as well trying to fight, as far as the looked down upon within the industry. The industry and sex work in general, for the most part, has always had that looked down upon stigma.
Right.
That
and everybody was looked down, or you're just this. And then, Jenna came along, love her or hate her. She fucking put us in the mainstream era.
And you're really right. That name, again, still to this day, as we were, again, at Exotica, she was there. There was a line.
Of course.
Just to meet her because of the name.
Right.
Right.
And Tara Patrick would have the same thing.
She was actually, wasn't she there too?
Yes, I was going to say,
was
Tara was there, and she had a long line throughout the weekend. Now, Jenna was only there for a few hours on Saturday.
Right.
Tara was there all weekend, and Tara had a line the whole time.
And that's what I'm used to.
Yes.
And that's the way it used to be, because us girls that were put on a platform, that were made stars, where people actually invested their money into us, to have us as their ambassadors for their companies. And me, myself, going on to, I had my own adult company.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, a huge company. And I had girls at my booths, and I had standards because of, this is my name, this is my company. We would spend $75,000, $80,000 just for our booth at AVN for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't seeing that shit now.
We
had huge booths. These were like temples, and we were the goddesses that were in these temples being worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just feel like it's sidewalk pandering. There's no more temples. It's just like everybody's got these little booths, and not a lot goes into them anymore.
And
that's the whole artistry with the booth was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah. That yes, and that is anywhere. So my background in my business, I'm in food service, and I've done trade shows, and it's the intricacies, and it draws people.
Yes.
So as we go to Exotica, yes, Loyal Fans has a massive booth. They do. Right. They have, the pictures. They have the banners. They have that draw. And then there's other booths that there's a rollout plastic sign, and here we are, and there's a couple tables. It's not the draw. And you can definitely see where, all right, here, this is, they're focusing on the talent. They want them to be there, from the look, the feel, and at the same time, the security.
Exactly.
And I think Loyal Fans really does that extremely well at these shows. They understand it. They get it from that end.
They get it because the people that started the Loyal Fans are from the era which I come from.
Yes, and that is who, when you look at who is at that booth, it is the names that you recognize today. Katie Morgan is there. Tara Patrick was there. And Katie is a staple at those and at that booth all the time. But it's from...
And you know who they are.
Exactly.
But they're also from my era.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But we've also seen that those bigger companies haven't been present at the last couple conventions.
And it's Loyal Fans is always there, but then some of the bigger ones. The Brazzers showed up for 2 conventions last year at Exotica, and didn't come back.
Right.
So why is that? Not sure. Is it financial? Can't imagine that, because the amount of money that they make and what they're putting out is insane. But yeah, it's.
I can tell you exactly what it is. The level of professionalism now with girls showing up at your booths, getting them there, is not the same.
Very fair. We talked to someone about that at a booth, and he's been a friend for years. You can't do it.
Yes, it's like herding cats. It's always been difficult, even when I had girls at my booths for signing. But the girls knew, and I knew when I was at my career, if you didn't show up and you dropped the ball, you got that reputation, and your career was as good as done.
And again, and that's fair.
You're known to waste people's time. You're known to not show up. You're known to be a flake. Once you get that reputation, it used to be that you weren't invited anymore.
There were repercussions. Yeah, there were repercussions.
Right, because they spent thousands of dollars on banners on you. They spent thousands of dollars on signing material for you, and then you just don't show up. Yeah, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. And I think the level of professionalism isn't there anymore. So these people don't want to invest all this money going to shows and having girls sign when they can't really guarantee that they're going to be there.
Yep. No reliability. And again, we've seen some performers that have been at some of the bigger booths and over the years have stepped down steps and steps and steps. And when we go and when you approach somebody at one of these booths and, you hate to say it, you feel bad because they are totally incoherent, because they are so stoned out of their mind, strung out, but they're at this booth.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a problem too, where they just don't want to be associated with it. Nobody wants to go to a show, put all this money in, and then have a shit show to deal with. It becomes more of a headache than what it's worth, because there is no work ethic in the adult industry anymore. It's all about me, 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 me. I don't give a fuck about the community anymore. I don't give a fuck about everybody else. They don't understand that the reason they're not being built up, well, maybe you should take accountability for yourself. The reason you're not being built up is maybe start acting professional and get your shit together and do what you're supposed to do. And then maybe, the companies wouldn't, back out of a lot of these shows, because it is hard. And that's why you see people like Tara Patrick, Katie Morgan, and after show, after show, after show, they're going to show up because they're reliable and they can count on them and they're going to draw a crowd.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh my God, is she even here? That's the difference. Like us girls, I just don't ever remember anyone not showing up for their booth during the 10 years that I did AVN shows. I just don't remember anybody just being like, oh yeah, she didn't show up today. No, everybody had their scheduled times and they were there. They had their makeup artist in their rooms. They got ready. They went down. They were escorted down, and you were put in your booth and you worked your shift. And then afterwards, if you wanted, usually we all met up and we all went out to dinner.
Yeah.
And then we hit a couple parties. Me, I was in bed by 11. I just never stayed out and partied all night because, again, I knew I had to wake up and go to the show, and I treated it like a business, which most of us did. It was a fucking business, not just a wild party where I'm going to go make a bunch of money prostituting with my fans all night. Like, no. It was just a different mentality, and I understand, like, why companies don't want to be there, because I was on the company end of it. I had booths where I was investing a lot of money in girls being there to sign, and myself included being there to sign. And it's just like, you do not want to have to go babysitting and tracking these girls down constantly.
Yeah.
The girls that do show up and that are reliable, yeah, they're going to get called all the time to be at the booths, because reliability and professionalism is, far and few between.
Yeah. And almost wonder if that change, if the internet and the cam sites and all of that have created some of that. Because with that, as you said, you can put out whatever. You're not held to a schedule. You do what you want, when you want, how you want to do it. So has that really changed the industry?
I think it's a double-edged sword, because I really like having my OnlyFans, because I do stuff on my own schedule.
Sure.
And I own all my product. My product's not being taken and then making 100 different compilations out of it and being sold for somebody else. But then, you don't have the companies anymore that are backing you and putting a bunch of money into you and making you a star. So then there's the downfall with that. And I think a lot of girls, too, trying to do OnlyFans, which is a huge saturated market, by the way. You're not going to, very few people are going to be able to just use OnlyFans and have that as their only source of income. Because nowadays, I just do it for fun. I may do 1 or 2 things a month on there, and I'm still making money. I still make a, good amount of money just because I already had the name.
Brand was already there.
My brand was already there. That's why I was trying to explain to these people that wanted me to sign for them and pay for everything. I was like, and they're trying to tell me to help build my name and get me out there. And I was like, I've been out there for 25 years. My stuff.
Yeah.
I was gone. Yeah, I took a hiatus for 13 years, but the minute I stepped back in, I already had my following. I didn't have to, rebrand or build my brand up. My name spoke for itself. And so, yeah, I did OnlyFans. I could make, money right out of the gate. And these other girls, complaining that they have to do 10 different platforms at 8 hours a day, working their ass off just to get by. And it's just kind of like, it's rough for them. And it's kind of like, and there's not a lot of movie companies where you can go pump out 20 or 30 movies a month.
Yeah, that does not exist anymore.
No.
And it's funny because, yes, it seems like some of these people, they get into OnlyFans, some of the girls get into OnlyFans, and somebody said it was kind of joking, but it was at the same time, I was like, no, you're actually right. There was someone that I had previously worked with, and she was like, I'm going to get on OnlyFans, and I'm going to make money, and this and that. And I'm like, we'll stop. Yes, I know kind of some of the industry. We're kind of involved in it. And somebody looked and said, you're never going to pay don't think you're going to be able to pay your bills just by showing your butthole once a week.
No.
And that was, and she was like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, not wrong.
That's
You better put time
the
in it.
media. The media has this, they'll show this girl makes $100,000 a month on OnlyFans. Yeah, but she's also doing a shit ton of stuff. And she's traveling the world, and she's got a bunch of her own money that she's putting into herself, and she's doing, crazy stuff, here and there. That's very far and few between. Or it's women that have been caught doing something scandalous, and they have an OnlyFans, and then get mainstream media attention. Then all of a sudden, their OnlyFans is blowing up. My OnlyFans is steady, because I have fans on there that are, diehard, and they've been with me from the beginning. And anytime I put something new out, they all buy it. And it's fine, I spent a long time, and I never had a publicist. I built my name, and I had a company, and I had a ton of movies under my belt. That's the difference. I have a few hundred movies that I'm in, plus over 100 movies I've directed. So my brand was already there. It's built in, and the media makes it sound like if you do OnlyFans and you got the body and you got the charisma, and if you do this, you're automatically just going to make all this money. It's just going to come pouring in, and you don't never have to work again. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, that is the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life, because nothing in this world is easy.
No.
I worked my fucking ass off in the industry to be who I am today. I have been an ambassador of women in this industry from day one. And I was the first female gonzo director company owner in the industry. Period. Hands down. Opened up that doorway, and I fought to open up that doorway. And it was not easy. I was fucking threatened. Belittled, told, oh, that's cute, only women can do softcore, they don't know anything about hardcore. I was like, hold my fucking beer, here we go. And I opened up that door for a lot of the women today that have their own brands, that have companies or whatever they're doing. But after me, a lot of female directors started coming out, and a lot of them that I had under my company umbrella of Red Light District and Platinum X. They were hired there, and then the gonzo thing just kind of started, and they were like, oh, these performers putting their name on it and performing in their movies, the ones that have the names, the sales are going through the roof. And then it was just kind of like, yeah, big fuck you when you told me I couldn't do it. Yeah. When it said produced and directed by Jewel Denial, starring Jewel Denial, people bought it. Mm-hmm. Because they knew, first of all, it's going to be quality and it's going to look good. And my standard of performing is top tier. And anybody I have in my movies, their standard of performing is going to be top tier. So you weren't going to be buying bullshit. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard for those who sat behind a desk, who had other people shoot porn for them, and then they reaped all the benefits. It was a hard pill for them to swallow because you're cutting into their profits. And then when I went and opened up a industry-owned company, it was a nightmare.
Well, and when you did that,
the world against me.
Yeah, and exactly, yeah. When you did that, when that started, as you said, it was the first. You came in, you formed that, you started that, and you were going against the top. I hate to say the boys' club. But that 100%. Is what it was back then, and it was those large name companies. Mm-hmm. And as you said, came in, hold my beer. So was that when you started in the industry, and as your career grew, did you have aspirations or thoughts of saying, I want to get behind the camera and I want to do this? Or was it just one day you're like, you know what? Bullshit. I'm doing it myself.
Like I said, when I got in at 21, I was like, I'm going to learn every aspect of this industry and I'm going to dominate it. Because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make a career of this and there's no going back. Because I will be labeled and branded for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And society wasn't ready for me. I came into an era of where women were very still suppressed in the industry. They were owned. Mm-hmm. And instead of owning their own work. And, or even being able to be creative behind the camera, even if they didn't own it, they were just being suppressed to just be the good girl and show up for set, while all the good old boys behind the desk collect all the money. Mm-hmm. So I shook a lot of shit up. They didn't like it. And it just got so tiring to fight off the wolves all the time. And the fight just got so exhausting mentally and physically. And then I saw the direction the porn companies were taking and what was coming in and the corners that were being cut. And I was just like, this isn't for me. I did the best I could, but it's now going backwards. And it's becoming very degrading to women to where they're almost like, they have pimps that they call agents. And I wanted individual women to, have their own voice and do their own thing in porn if that's what they wanted. I feel like I took 10 steps forward and then the internet hit and people streaming whatever, and these girls, it just went back and back in the opposite direction, and it went very quickly to where I was just very saddened. I felt like it was all for nothing. Beat down. I got my company stolen from me by the men that I was in business with. They wanted to oust me, and then they ended up losing everything because they bit the hand that fed them. I was trying to build the company to be an international company. I was in networking in New York. I had distribution. I had met with people there to do distribution in New York. In Miami, I had distribution ready to go. And I was in Australia. I had distribution ready to go. I was going to set up shop in all those 3 places outside of LA to make it a global company. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't like that. And it was just like, they pretty much sold off my catalog and fired me from my own company, and took all my stuff, and I just walked away. I was like, fuck you all. I'm done fighting. I don't even want to deal with the legal fees. I don't want to even fight for it anymore because it's all going to end up on the internet for free, and I'm spinning my wheels at this point. And I hope you all lose your ass and, burn in hell. I hope your company burns to the fucking ground. I cursed them all, and you know what? They all got what was coming to them, and it all fucking went away, and they have nothing. And I could have had a huge empire if they would have just stuck with me and not been greedy and had this misogynistic view of female performers that we are not worthy to have an empire.
And I can see where, yes, you get to that point. It's like, all right, I am just tired of fighting.
Yeah. It got to
and
the point where
wipe my hands clean and
exhausted.
yep, fuck off. Your mental state and physical state is more important, and unfortunately that happened. At the same time, as you've said a few times, your name, what you've done, everything you stand for is still intact, because today you can turn around and start your OnlyFans and people are right there.
Right.
So that shows
it
you.
worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Yes, it worked out in the end, but I had to take a 13-year break, but also having, becoming a mother and all that, you take a break anyway, because it's a forced break at that point. But, they're grown, gone, whatever now. So it's just kind of like, I was like, I'm going to do this. My husband now, he was like, I didn't even know what OnlyFans was. I had separated myself for so long from the industry. I was so detached because it left such a bad taste in my mouth, because everything I'd built up had just been ripped out from underneath me, and it was not fun, and I was exhausted, and I just really didn't want to deal with a lot of the people anymore. And then when I got on and I reconnected and realized, I still have a fan base. Wow, okay. Everybody, I was afraid I was going to go on there and no one even remember who I was. But nope, they remembered. And then a lot of my friends from back in the day, people that I've worked with, it was just nice to reconnect with them, and they're still around.
And you said that. So I believe it was yesterday. There was a post on Twitter, and it was from a performer, and actually it tagged you, and it said, do you still connect or have conversations with the people from your, and listed so many of those names? And you replied back and said, yes, I do. There's still that family aspect of it.
There is that family aspect from my era, due to the fact that we treated each other with respect.
Yeah. And
we
those names, those names, like there were some names on there that I went, oh, wow. That name definitely clicks, and I totally had forgotten over the years.
Yeah, I mean, there's still
names.
so many that I still talk to. I just didn't have enough,
to
put them all. Lana Evans is another one. She's still around. I've talked to her a little bit online. Ava Devine's still around. Kiana Dior. Sarah J. Like, there's just tons of us girls that are still around. I mean, not tons of us. There's like a handful of us girls.
Yeah.
But the ones that I was closest to, that I talked to outside of Twitter, every now and then, is like Tara Patrick's Serenity. We still talk. And I've talked to Erica McLean, who was, Playboy Playmate back in her day. I'm still really good friends with her. And she was also married to Clive McLean.
Okay. That name kind of rings a bell.
He shot for Hustler. And in fact, the People versus Larry Flint, Clive and Erica were, Clive's character is the photographer in that. He was, on the set when that movie was being made as kind of a consultant.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. And before I even got into the adult industry, I worked with Clive for Hustler.
Oh, okay.
That was before I even did porn. I did photo layouts with Clive. He was like the first person I ever did anything with, and it was for Hustler. And then I did a photo shoot in Mexico, and I believe it was for Club and several other magazines. Maybe Velvet,
Yeah.
all the magazines from back in the day. And then I started doing movies, within a month or so from doing my photo layouts. But Clive got a hold of me first.
Ah, very nice.
Bless his heart, he died of brain cancer, I'm going to say maybe 20 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I still have, and Jasmine St. Clair. Like, Jasmine and I, reconnecting with her was fantastic, because her and I have been friends, and, and we still talk, and she's awesome, and she's still got her thing going, and she still looks amazing. And Jenna, I've talked to briefly.
Yeah.
Here and there. Had conversation little conversations with her right before she got real sick, and talked to Christy Canyon online a few times, because Amber, Lynn, Ginger Lynn, Christy Canyon, those were Animal.
Yeah.
And Raquel Darien, Janine Lindemeyer, Lisa, or Julia Ann.
Okay, yeah.
They were all around. Dominique Simone. Those were the girls I looked up to.
Okay,
when I first
yeah.
got into the adult industry. And the fact that I'm still in contact with Christy and Amber is awesome to me.
Yep.
Because they were the ones I look up to, and they're still great people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still in the industry, and they're still, shedding positive light in the business. But again, they can walk into a room and everybody knows who they are.
And we've had the pleasure of meeting Christy quite a few times because she still does the Exotica tours. Mm-hmm. So she's at all of the Exoticas. So, Christy Canyon, we've seen her, numerous times. Mickey Lynn, she's always at the Exoticas and from back in just, prior to when you got in.
Right.
Those ones, as you said, stood the test of time.
Yes.
People still know Janine.
Of course.
She's still out there. I believe she still does feature dancing tours here and there. And she's still out.
Alexis Amore. I still, she's another one that I didn't tag in the post, but I still, have seen her online and, being engaged with her. She still tours and does dancing. So does Katie Morgan, and so does Jessica Drake. These girls are still on the circuit, which I find amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And anytime Katie comes to Pittsburgh, we make it a point. We go out and we see her. It's always, when we're at Exotica, it's like, all right, here's the smoking section. I'll go out and have a cigar, and Katie's outside taking a break. We've had so many conversations with her, and to see, again, that generation of, yourself and those performers that are still there. Mrs. First Gentleman's Club trip was actually to go and see Katie Morgan, which is hilarious because she still has a little Polaroid. And Katie's like, holy shit, I haven't taken Polaroids in 20 years.
I was going to say, because that was the norm back when I was feature dancing. I had a roadie, I had a trunk, I had the Polaroids, I had the DVDs. When I first started dancing, we still had VHS and DVDs to choose from. And you had your 8x10s and, and your roadie did all that stuff. I mean, Polaroids were like the norm. And then another thing that killed the buying of the Polaroids is everybody's got cell phones that take pictures.
Yeah, exactly. All right, take a selfie and call it.
But they've actually come back. The Polaroid, I mean, they're not like what they were, but
they're still there, and we're seeing people using those again, which is pretty cool, kind of nostalgia.
Yeah, I love that. I still have some of my Polaroids from my dancing era. I had some of them. I had one with Trey Parker, but my ex-husband took that as a trophy for some reason. But I had Polaroids with Matt Stone and Trey Parker in the City of Industry at the Spearmint Rhino.
Okay.
And they had signed my Polaroids and given them to me.
Nice.
So I was like, that was hilarious. They kind of did a role reversal, and they were like, Matt Stone took the Polaroid camera and got a picture of me on Trey Parker's lap being silly and took the picture, and then Trey signed it to me, and then same thing with Matt Stone. They were like, so it was just funny. They did like a role reversal to where they were autographing Polaroids for me, and I was like, you guys are crazy. And how I ended up there and why they ended up there is Jenna was supposed to be feature dancing that night at the City of Industry.
Okay.
And I lived about an hour away. At that time, I was still in Upland, California. It was before I had moved to the Valley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, she was so big that she had, I'm going to say, assistants that booked her stuff. She didn't do her own bookings.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, there was no way. At that time, she was at the peak of her career. And she got double booked.
Oh.
So she was at another, I believe, City of Industry in another fucking state.
Oh,
and
jeez.
So they were like, Jewel, can you come in and cover? Because I guess last time they did this, and she didn't show up, and people paid like a $20 cover charge and back then, 20 years ago, $20 cover charge is like a $50 cover charge now.
Yeah.
And so people got mad and they trashed the place.
Oh.
And they were like, they didn't want to have that again. So as I showed up, and the fans didn't care. They were like, "Oh, it's fine. It's Jewel."
Nice. See?
Jewel's here. It's cool. No problem. But that's why Trey and Parker and Matt Stone were there. They were there to see Jenna, but they were like, "Fuck it, Jewel's here. It's cool." Like, no one was mad that I was there.
Nice.
No one was upset. They were like, "This is just as good. It's fine as long as somebody was there of caliber that could."
Yeah.
Right.
Get some no name on stage, they're going to be pissed. But yeah, they had already.
Yeah, it was still that recognized name, and you were at that status then that, hey, you know what? You built your brand. Here it is. All right, cool, great.
Yeah, it happened a couple times. I covered for Jenna to where she got double booked, and they were like, "Fuck," and they were like, "Just call Jules. Like she's got it covered, and no one will be pissed."
Yeah,
so,
nice.
It happened, and it was fine. They were like, "Oh, we thought it was going to be Jenna tonight, but you're here, so it's cool." Like, it didn't piss anybody off, and it's like, because we were like a small knit community, we were a family, we all shared the same fan base pretty much.
Yeah.
So nobody was upset about that, but yeah, I mean, we had each other's back, and now it's just a lot of backbiting. I mean, we had our industry disputes, but we squashed them. We acted like adults, and it was all behind the scenes. We didn't go trashing each other on public forums.
Well, and the social media world did not exist back then as well either. So that was, I'm sure that helped. But again, and we've talked to other people.
There was chat rooms and forums like Adult DVD Talk. They were like, this is after I'd quit the industry or I was at the end of my career where I had nothing to do with it anymore. Apparently, I had been banned on there for talking a lot of shit, and I was like, it wasn't even me.
Oh.
At the time that all this went on, I was pregnant and married, and I wasn't on, I can promise you I was not on Adult DVD Talk talking all this shit when I'm like super pregnant. Like, I had other stuff
things going on.
I had completely removed myself. And then when I got back into the industry, I had Dirty Bob and Blue Jay, like the guys that do Adult DVD Talk. They started talking to me and they were laughing. They were like, "Hey, we just want to know, because I don't think you're aware of this, but we banned you like 12 years ago on ADD Talk." And I was like, "Excuse me? What?"
Hold on.
Banned me?
Yeah.
I was like, "For what?" And they still had the archives, which I was like, "Wow, you guys keep everything." And he showed me. I was like, "That doesn't even sound like me."
Yeah.
That person that's speaking, trying to be me, is ignorant as all hell. I was like, I like to think of myself as well-spoken.
Yeah.
This is pretty ghetto and pretty stupid, the shit that's being said. And they are like, "Yeah, we thought it wasn't you, but weren't sure, but we suspended the account. We're glad it's not you." So they went back and adjusted and was like, just everybody, if she was talking shit or being mean or saying all this derogatory stuff, it wasn't even me. So I was like, "Oh, there's probably so many people pissed at me in the industry thinking I was talking mad shit about them, and it wasn't even me."
Yeah. Oh,
I'd already removed myself from that, so I got a taste of it before it had even blown up with social media.
Well, and that's what I was going to say.
Example.
Oh my gosh, somebody stealing your identity on social media even before it was a thing.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I was just fucking hijacked, before it was cool, I guess.
Yeah. Oh. So
they were talking all kinds of shit, and like racial slurs and this, and I was like, what in the fuck is this?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, not me, but I had a good idea who it was, because the email that was being used was my business email at my old company.
Oh.
Yeah. So I knew exactly who that fucking was.
Oh shit.